All right, this video we are going to talk about Google Analytics. And I have mixed feelings about Google Analytics. One is that it's very confusing, even for those of us that are technical. It's not easy software to use. In fact, competitors like Mixpanel, Kissmetrics, and Gauges and many others have actually made really profitable businesses about taking Google Analytics' complexity and making it easier to use. But I still recommend installing it on almost every project I do. It's helpful for tracking a few basic goals and events. And it's also a great way to track kind of typical vanity metrics like visitors and visits, bounce rate, time on page, exit, as well as for tracking referrals. So for seeing where your traffic's coming from. So today we're going to focus on setting up goals in Google Analytics. You have lots of goals for your website. Last tutorial we talked about one of the goals for my landing page here is to get people to get a free chapter for them to essentially become a lead and get on the email list. Another goal in the case of my book was to have people buy it, and so for people to push the buy button and actually purchase it. We're going to use that as an example for two types of goals in analytics, one for signing up for a newsletter and the other for purchasing a product. All right, the first step is to log into your Google Analytics account. Hopefully you've already set that up. If you haven't installed it yet, go back to the previous tutorial. And we are going to go to the admin link here at the top. And in the third column on the far right, we're going to click on Goals. All right, we're going to click New Goal. All right, so here you'll see they have some templates with pre-filled configurations. There's one for signed up for a newsletter. There's also one for setting up custom events. I'm going to click this Sign Up template, and we'll see how that works. All right, so we're going to call this Signed Up for Waiting List. And in this case, we're going to choose that thank you confirmation page as the type. I'm going to click Continue now, and we're going to say it's equal to thank you. We're going to leave a monetary value to the conversion off. And I'm actually going to specify a path as well. The path in terms of this funnel is really easy. There's the home page, and it is at devmarketing.xyz. And that's basically it. So let's verify this. Don't worry if your goals don't verify right away. In this example, it's saying I would have a 0% conversion rate. I know that that's not true. I know that we've actually got more data than that. But sometimes when you come back the next day, it'll be tracking the data. Sometimes it takes there's a little bit of latency there. So we're just going to save this here. And now we have a goal called sign up for the waiting list. All right, so the next goal I want to track is, did people buy my book? And to do this, I'm going to set up a goal for anyone that buys off of Gumroad. I'm going to, in this case, set up my Google Analytics account information here. All right, so I'm going to create a new goal here. In this case, I'm going to go with the custom option. We're going to call this Purchased the ebook. And we're going to use the event type for this one here. Now I'm going to fill in each of the goal details. Action, I'm going to put purchased product. And I'm going to put in the amount of the book, what each conversion is worth. It's worth about $39. And again, I'm going to verify. In this case, it still hasn't started tracking this data. So again, it usually takes a little while for Google to start receiving data. So don't freak out if there's no conversion data right away. So now I have two of my goals set up in Google Analytics. So here's an example of a really simple goal I set up previously. You can see that Google is already tracking it. I actually had to wait overnight for Google to start showing this data. So again, if you're not seeing data in Google Analytics right away, just leave it, give it a little bit of time, and then try to verify your goal later. Make sure that there's events happening while you're waiting. So make sure you're maybe trying to sign up for a trial or trying to sign up for a subscription. But here's one that worked. So we've got the goal verified there. And now we're going to talk about funnels. Now, normally I like to set these up in Mixpanel. We're going to cover that in a later tutorial. I think it's still worth doing it in Google. One, because it's free. You might move past Mixpanel's free tier and want to have something also to compare Google's results to. So to set up a funnel, we go back to our admin tab here. We click on goals, click on the goal we set up, and under details, we just make sure that this funnel option is turned on. And in this case, I have a very short funnel. It's viewed homepage and then goal achieved. This is a one-page landing page. It's going to be a very short funnel. Let me show you what that looks like in goals here. So let's head back. We're going to click on funnel visualization. And we can see we had 152 visits to the homepage and one person, so 0.66%, signed up for the newsletter. That's our funnel. Really simple. We can see 152 people came in, 151 people exited, but one person stuck around and signed up for the newsletter in this case. So that was a simple funnel. Let me show you what a funnel with more steps looks like. So in this one here, we can see we have multiple pages that a visitor could go to before they sign up. In this case, the integrations page and the pricing page. So again, if I go back to reports and I look at this funnel, we can see there's a lot more going on here, right? We have people coming in, checking out integrations and leaving, but some proceed to pricing. In this case, 50% of the people proceeded to pricing. And after people viewed the pricing page, 10% proceeded to sign up. This is what a funnel looks like. It shows you the steps a user takes to get to the goal, which in this case is sign up. You can also visualize these by going to the goal flow option here. And here we can see, all the different traffic sources that are coming in, how people are getting to these pages, and then what's happening as they go through each of the steps. So we could, for example, just follow Google. A lot of people are going directly to the pricing page. Some people loop back. Some of those people sign up. We can see what's happening with the direct traffic. We can see, all these different sources, how they're coming in and how they're going out. Goals in Google Analytics can be helpful because they help us to evaluate the effectiveness of our marketing campaigns. But we have to be careful. The way we think marketing works is that we create the campaign, people see the campaign, and then they buy immediately. But in reality, people purchase like this. This right here is the purchase timeline from the folks at jobstobedone.org. And the way they describe it is there's a first trigger, there's the first thought of maybe purchasing something, and then there's passive looking. And then there's something that happens, an event that leads to more active looking. And then there's another event that happens that leads to an actual decision, the actual purchase, and then consuming, and then the consumer decides whether they are satisfied with the purchase. One way to think about it is something like this. So maybe somebody sees a product on Product Hunt. 4 weeks later, they notice it on Twitter. 2 weeks later, they read your blog and you mention the product again. And then 3 weeks later, the boss comes by and says, hey, I need you to solve this problem. And then you remember the product because you've seen it 3 times. And in order to account for all of these different steps, we're going to use multi-channel funnels. You'll find that under the conversions menu, under multi-channel funnels. And basically, it shows you all of the different paths that people can follow to get to your goal that you set up. What paths did they follow and where is their overlap? And so, for example, in this graph here, we can see where the overlap is right here. There's 4.77% of traffic was direct, referral, and organic search. Direct and referral, 16.45%, right? So this shows you, out of the total conversions that occurred, how many were assisted by multiple channels. So you might be thinking, you know what, social doesn't help me at all. I don't get any benefit from Twitter. But in this case, we can see that social is helping about 5.26%. A good way to evaluate the monetary value of different channels, especially if you're running paid ad campaigns, is to view the assisted conversions report. So in my case, we can see that direct traffic is contributing to most of my sales. both in terms of assisted conversion value and in terms of direct conversion value. So direct conversion value is, people went directly to the website and purchased. Assisted conversion value means they went to, they got there via Twitter and then they came back 2 weeks later, typed in the web URL, and then purchased. Organic search is the next on the list. In terms of direct conversion value, it's offering very little, but in terms of assisted conversion value, there's a lot of money there. We might have, in the old days, discounted organic search because it wasn't showing up as a direct conversion value is quite low. But now we can see with these assisted conversions that it's actually contributing quite a bit of value, referrals and social as well. And in the case of this product, email is performing very poorly. For me, this would be a signal that I need to start ramping up email or I'm not tracking it properly. By the way, you can actually click through on these and drive into more detail, see which sources are sending, for example, all this traffic. So in this case, Hacker News contributed $437 in assisted conversion value. Whoever says, there's always people that say Hacker News traffic doesn't convert. Well, in this case, it did convert, $437 worth. So you can drill down into specifics, see, which site sent you the best converting traffic. That can be really helpful. All right, to round off this tutorial, I'd like to show you just a few basic Google Analytics reports, things that you've probably seen before, but I just wanted to cover them quickly. Normally, when you open up Google Analytics, the first thing you'll see is this audience overview. It gives you a nice kind of graph over the last 30 days of, you can see, for example, where your traffic spikes were. You can see how many total sessions you had in the past month. You can see how many unique users you had in the past month. You can see how many page views, etc. How many of those users were new and how many were returning, what your bounce rate was, what the average session duration. And again, these can be helpful. I suppose one way to make it actionable in this case the question would be, what was driving all this traffic? And did I get better or worse conversions that day? The other report I find helpful, especially if you're getting a influx of traffic, is this real-time report. It basically shows you how many users are on your site right now and where they're coming from. And so right now, it'll even show you where in the world they're coming from. And so right now, I have 2 people on my site. They're both visiting from the desktop. If you submit your site to Product Hunt or Hacker News, it's not uncommon to see hundreds of people on your site all at once, which is another reason you want to make sure you have really robust hosting that can handle a big influx of traffic like that. But it's just kind of fun to see a bunch of people on your site at the same time and also see what they're looking at and where they're coming from. If you notice a big influx of traffic and you're saying, whoa, I wonder where these people are coming from, you can look at top referrals and get that information. All right, so I'm going to show you 2 more reports here. The next one is under acquisition, and you're going to go to all traffic and source medium. Again, you'll see that there's so much in Google Analytics. It really is helpful to know which reports are going to be the most useful to you at the beginning. And source medium will give you information on which sites are sending you traffic and what kind of traffic that is. So in this case, we have direct traffic. We have traffic coming from Google, which is organic search. We have traffic coming from Twitter, which is referral traffic. It's here as well. These are Twitter short links. This is Twitter. We have mobile Facebook. We have product letter. Okay, this is interesting. I'm noticing this referral from product letter. I could go and take a look at that and say, okay, well, where's this traffic coming from? Oh, look, it's an email newsletter. Polish email newsletter is sending traffic to my site. And, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the list. So fairly significant. That might be something I want to check into. Might be something I want to, reach out to this person and ask, if I can send him more stuff or even just to thank him. And if I click through on that product letter source, I can see we actually had 2 spikes. So it's almost like he sent 2 email newsletters with links to my site. So really interesting. That might be something I follow up on. The next chart I'll get you to look at is this oddly named behavior chart, behavior report. And when people talk about vanity metrics, they're often talking about the stats in this section because it focuses on page views. And Again, it's okay to look at these as long as you're asking good questions of the data. I usually go into site content, all pages, and I just see, okay, what pages on my website are getting the most views. And it's pretty clear in the last 30 days that my words essay, if you want to see what the traffic is, you can do a pop-up right here. It still gets the bulk of my traffic. And then this new blog post I just wrote is kind of the second. So for example, one thing I could do is I could say, do I have a good call to action on this page? Because it's getting a lot of traffic. Maybe I should try something out. Maybe I want to have a bigger call to action somewhere on here. So that is an option. There might be a page that's getting a bunch of traffic that you haven't noticed, like maybe it's an older page and all of a sudden it's newly popular and maybe you want to start promoting it again. There's a few useful action steps you can get after looking at this section here. That's what you want to focus on. Focus on the action steps. All right, so that's it for Google Analytics. Hope that was helpful for you. Again, experiment with all this stuff. Set up some goals, set up some funnels, and of course, you're going to need to start driving traffic to your site. Refer to the book for information on how to do that. But once you're driving traffic, this will help you to at least start evaluating that traffic and seeing where you might be able to optimize things.